Why do we feel more connected than ever, and yet more anxious, restless, and drained? Why does a device that fits in our pocket, promising endless convenience and opportunity, also leave us feeling overwhelmed and enslaved? And why do we spend countless hours scrolling through feeds we don't even enjoy, even while knowing deep down that it robs us of time, focus, and peace? These are the uncomfortable truths of the digital age, where the smartphone has become both tool and tyrant, where the constant buzz of notifications has replaced the sound of silence, and where calm feels almost impossible to find. In America today, the phrase digital detox is no longer just a niche wellness trend, it is a cultural necessity. People are recognizing that unlimited screen time is eroding their relationships, their attention, and even their mental health. And while many solutions are being offered, from screen time apps to mindfulness workshops, there is an ancient philosophy that speaks directly to this modern crisis: Stoicism. The average American now spends more than 7 hours a day in front of a screen. For many, the first action in the morning is checking their phone before even leaving bed. The last action at night is scrolling endlessly through social media. Emails, texts, news alerts, app notifications, they flood our attention every waking hour. We are constantly available, constantly reacting, constantly comparing our lives to curated images of others. The result is a mental environment of noise and pressure, one where true calm feels almost unattainable. Yet the irony is clear. These tools were meant to free us, to give us more control over our time, but instead, they have enslaved us. The concept of digital detox, a conscious break from devices, emerges as a rebellion against this tyranny. It is a movement gaining traction across the US, from Silicon Valley executives who refuse to let their kids use iPads to everyday workers who are deleting social media apps in search of sanity. And it is here that Stoicism finds new life. Because the core of a digital detox is not about technology itself, but about control, discipline, and the ability to accept what is within our power to change. Marcus Aurelius never knew what a smartphone was, but his words could have been written for us. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. What is a smartphone notification, if not an outside event? What is a trending topic or viral video, if not an external force pulling at our attention? The Stoics taught that we suffer when we mistake what is outside our control for something we must manage. The digital world thrives on this mistake, convincing us that we must react, we must stay updated, we must engage constantly or risk being left behind. Yet Stoicism teaches the opposite. Peace comes from focusing inward, from mastering our judgments, from refusing to let the noise dictate our state of mind. A digital detox is, in essence, a Stoic practice brought into the modern age. It is the deliberate refusal to let external distractions dominate the inner self. Think about the endless comparisons that dominate American culture today. Social media platforms are designed to exploit envy, to keep us scrolling by showing curated images of lifestyles we may never have. Hustle influencers flaunt productivity hacks. Fitness accounts flaunt bodies sculpted by hours of training. Travel influencers flaunt lives of endless adventure. Every swipe tells us we are behind, we are lacking, we are not enough. No wonder anxiety and depression have skyrocketed in the digital era. The Stoics warned against this 2,000 years ago. Seneca wrote, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." By scattering our attention, by constantly comparing, we rob ourselves of presence. A digital detox breaks this cycle by creating silence, space, and stillness, conditions the Stoics considered essential for reflection and virtue. But here's the challenge. Americans are deeply addicted to their devices. Studies show that many feel actual withdrawal symptoms when separated from their phones: restlessness, anxiety, even panic. Hustle culture and the digital age reinforce each other, making us believe we must always be reachable, always productive, always available. To detox feels like losing control, when in reality it is the path to regaining it. Epictetus reminded his students, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The digital detox is an act of self-mastery, a way to reclaim freedom from algorithms designed to capture attention. And when combined with Stoic philosophy, it becomes more than a temporary break. It becomes a practice of living deliberately, of choosing clarity over chaos, of saying yes to peace and no to noise. Imagine the scene. A young professional in Los Angeles, checking their phone every few minutes between meetings, unable to focus, their mind racing with news, emails, and likes. By evening, they feel exhausted, but also strangely unfulfilled. Their attention has been spent on everything but what matters. Now imagine the same person putting their phone away for an evening, sitting with a notebook instead of a feed, reflecting on what they can control and what they cannot. They go to bed earlier, sleep better, and wake with a clearer mind. This is not fantasy. It is the result of a simple act of discipline. A Stoic-style digital detox doesn't mean abandoning technology forever. It means using it with intention, refusing to be used by it. The US is seeing a surge in interest for retreats where people lock away their phones for days at a time. Some are branded as wellness experiences. Others are structured as corporate resets. But the deeper truth is that people are craving silence, craving the ability to step back from the constant flood of information. Stoicism offers guidance for what to do with that silence. It is not about escaping reality, but about facing it more clearly. In the quiet, you can reflect on your values, your choices, your priorities. You can practice gratitude for what you have, instead of envy for what others display. You can build resilience by remembering that external events, whether online trends or global crises, are beyond your control, but your response is always yours to command. One of the biggest fears people have about digital detoxing is missing out. FOMO, fear of missing out, is a defining anxiety of our time. What if I miss an important update? What if I fall behind? The Stoics answered this fear long ago. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that most of what happens in the world is irrelevant to living a virtuous life. The majority of notifications, updates, and trends have no bearing on your character, your duty, or your peace. To detox is not to miss out, but to step back into reality, the one unfolding right in front of you. When you put down the phone and walk outside, you do not lose life, you gain it. You see the sky, you hear the wind, you notice your own breath. That is presence, that is power. The rise of digital detox in America is not just about individual well-being, it is about cultural health. Families are reclaiming dinner tables free from screens. Schools are debating phone bans to protect children's focus. Couples are setting boundaries to prevent relationships from dissolving into parallel scrolling. These are not small changes. They represent a shift in values, a rebellion against a world that equates connection with constant access. Stoicism reinforces these boundaries, reminding us that relationships, virtue, and presence are more important than the endless stream of digital chatter. It tells us that calm is not found by adding more, but by subtracting what does not matter. And this is where Stoicism transforms digital detox from a temporary reset into a way of life. Without philosophy, a detox risks becoming just another wellness trend, something people try for a week before returning to old habits. But with Stoic wisdom, it becomes sustainable. Each time you silence your phone, you are practicing discipline. Each time you choose reflection over scrolling, you are practicing wisdom. Each time you let go of FOMO, you are practicing acceptance. Over time, these choices shape character. They turn detox from a break into a habit, from a fad into freedom. So the question is not whether the digital detox is necessary, it is whether we will approach it wisely. Will we treat it as a quick fix, or will we anchor it in a philosophy that can sustain us? Stoicism offers that anchor. It reminds us that calm is possible, even in a noisy world, if we reclaim control of our attention. It reminds us that peace does not come from the absence of notifications, but from the presence of virtue. And it reminds us that true freedom is not found in being constantly online, but in being fully alive. When we talk about digital detox, it is tempting to imagine it only as an escape, a retreat into silence that feels temporary and fragile. But the deeper challenge is not to step away from technology for a few hours or a weekend retreat. The challenge is to re-enter the digital world with clarity, to face the constant flood of content and choose wisely what deserves our attention. This is where Stoicism becomes more than a philosophy and transforms into a daily practice. The Stoics did not seek to run away from life. They sought to live fully within it, with calm, virtue, and presence. In the same way, a true digital detox is not about abandoning technology forever, but about returning to it as a master rather than a servant. The truth is that technology itself is not evil. A smartphone is not an enemy. Social media is not inherently destructive. The problem is our relationship to them, the way we allow algorithms to dictate behavior and steal our focus. Hustle culture and the digital economy both thrive on our inability to control attention. They want us constantly scrolling, constantly consuming, constantly reacting. That is why Stoicism is so powerful here. It shifts the focus from blaming the outside world to taking responsibility for the inner one. Epictetus wrote, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." A notification appears on the phone. A news headline shocks us. A viral video tempts us to click. Each of these is an external circumstance. The Stoic practice is to pause, to recognize the choice, and to ask, does this serve my virtue? Does this align with what I control? If not, the wise response is to let it go. In modern America, this wisdom is desperately needed. Children grow up swiping screens before they can read. Adults confess they cannot sit in silence for even a few minutes without reaching for a device. Relationships break down because couples spend more time staring at phones than at each other. And workplaces expect constant availability, blurring the line between work and rest until both become unsatisfying. In this world, a digital detox is not indulgence, it is survival. And Stoicism turns that survival into strength. It reframes every notification as a test of discipline, every temptation to scroll as an opportunity for wisdom, every urge to compare as a chance for gratitude. What once enslaved us becomes fuel for growth. The fear many Americans carry is that without constant connection, they will fall behind. They worry about missing opportunities, losing relevance, or being excluded. But the Stoics remind us that the things we fear losing were never truly ours to begin with. Seneca warned that much of what we chase is not essential, and in chasing it, we waste our lives. In the digital age, this wisdom echoes louder than ever. The majority of updates, memes, and trends are forgotten within days. The constant refresh cycle of social media thrives on our fear of missing out, yet delivers nothing lasting. To step away, even briefly, is to see how little we truly lose. And in that realization, a new freedom begins to grow. There is also the matter of identity. Digital culture pushes people to curate online versions of themselves, to broadcast every achievement, every adventure, every filtered photo. The pressure to maintain this image creates stress and disconnection from reality. Hustle culture tells us to perform productivity. Social media tells us to perform happiness. Both together build an exhausting stage where authenticity suffocates. Stoicism dismantles this stage with one simple question: what is in your control? The opinions of others are not. The algorithms of platforms are not, but your actions, your values, your honesty, these are always yours. By practicing digital detox with Stoic insight, Americans can step off the stage and reclaim real identity. They can stop chasing validation through likes and rediscover dignity in character. Another dimension of digital detox in America is health. Doctors now warn of tech neck, eye strain, insomnia caused by blue light, and the rising toll of constant distraction on mental health. Sleep studies reveal that late-night scrolling disrupts deep rest, leaving people fatigued and irritable. Families report fractured communication as each member retreats into personal devices. In response, wellness industries offer endless solutions: apps to monitor screen time, filters to block blue light, even digital fasting retreats. But the Stoic answer remains simpler and stronger: moderation. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to align with nature, not against it. Human beings are not designed for endless stimulation. We are designed for rhythm, activity and rest, engagement and reflection. A Stoic approach to technology means recognizing its place as a tool, not a master, and setting boundaries accordingly. You don't need a complicated app to tell you to put the phone down. You need the discipline to choose when enough is enough. Consider how this could transform everyday American life. Instead of scrolling through news apps at midnight, a person might close the day with reflection, journaling thoughts like the Stoics once did. Instead of filling every quiet moment with podcasts or TikToks, someone might walk in silence, noticing the world around them. Instead of reaching for the phone during family dinner, people could reclaim the ancient practice of shared conversation. Each of these choices seems small, but they build a foundation of presence. They create lives less fractured by distraction and more rooted rooted in calm. And in a culture where anxiety is rampant, this presence is revolutionary. The rise of slow living movements in America shows this hunger for presence. People are embracing minimalism, mindfulness, and simpler lifestyles, not because they reject progress, but because they reject chaos. A Stoic-style digital detox aligns perfectly with this. It is not about living without technology. It is about living above it, refusing to let it dominate the soul. The Stoics would say, the tool should serve the person, not the other way around. A knife is not dangerous if used wisely. A phone is no different. The danger comes when we forget we are the ones holding it. And yet, it is important to recognize the resistance. Digital platforms are designed to be addictive. Their business models depend on capturing attention and keeping us engaged. To detox is not easy because it goes against billions of dollars spent engineering our impulses. That is why Stoicism is so necessary. It builds the inner muscles of discipline and perspective. It gives us the strength to resist not because we deny ourselves joy, but because we understand what joy truly is. True joy is not found in endless scrolling. It is found in clarity, in presence, in virtue. Every time we resist the pull of distraction, we are not depriving ourselves, we are reclaiming ourselves. So where does this leave us? America is at a turning point. The digital world is not going away. Screens will only become more present, more immersive, more persuasive. Artificial intelligence will create even smarter distractions. Virtual reality will offer escapes even harder to resist. In such a future, digital detox cannot be optional. It must be a discipline. And Stoicism offers the philosophy to make that discipline sustainable. It reminds us that we do not control the rise of technology, but we always control how we meet it. The question is not whether the world will become noisier, it is whether we will find calm within it. The American experiment has always been about freedom. But what is freedom if we are slaves to our own devices? What is liberty if we cannot sit in silence without panic? Stoicism redefines freedom not as doing whatever we want, but as mastering what we can control. In a digital age, this is the freedom to put the phone down, to walk away from the feed, to choose presence over distraction. It is the freedom to say no to noise and yes to calm. And that freedom is worth more than all the likes, follows, and notifications combined. The deeper we look at the role technology plays in our lives, the more we realize how much of our peace has been stolen, not by malice, but by distraction. We rarely set out to waste hours scrolling. We rarely decide, with intention, that our relationships will take second place to glowing screens. Instead, we are pulled little by little, moment by moment, until days blur into feeds, until silence feels foreign, and until stillness feels unbearable. Digital detox is not a luxury. It is a recognition that we cannot keep living like this and still expect to find peace. And Stoicism reminds us that peace is always within reach if we are willing to reclaim it. The question then becomes, how do we create a life where technology serves us instead of enslaves us? The first step is awareness. The Stoics were masters of self-examination. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations almost as if he were journaling for therapy, constantly reflecting on his actions, thoughts, and choices. In the same way, we must reflect on our relationship with screens. How many hours do we spend in front of them? How often do we reach for the phone not because we need it, but because silence feels uncomfortable? How many times do we choose scrolling over a face-to-face conversation? By asking these questions honestly, we begin to see where the imbalance lies. Awareness is the first act of detox. The second step is discipline. This is where Stoicism shines. Epictetus taught that freedom does not come from indulging every desire, but from mastering them. In the digital age, this means resisting the urge to check every notification, resisting the compulsion to react instantly, resisting the craving for constant entertainment. It does not mean abandoning technology entirely. It means using it intentionally. It means deciding when and how to engage, rather than being dragged by algorithms. Discipline in this sense is liberation, because it gives us back the power of choice. A phone can remain just a tool. It does not have to become a master. The third step is acceptance. There will always be more information than we can consume. There will always be more conversations than we can join. There will always be more updates than we can process. Hustle culture and digital culture both lie to us by insisting we can keep up with everything if we just work harder, scroll faster, and stay connected longer. But Stoicism cuts through that illusion. It tells us plainly, you cannot control the flood. You cannot master the infinite. You can only master yourself. Acceptance of this truth is what allows us to detox not just in practice but in spirit. When you realize you are not missing out by ignoring the noise but gaining life by focusing on what matters, the detox becomes natural. It becomes a joy, not a burden. Americans are hungry for this kind of clarity. That is why trends like mindfulness, slow living, and wellness retreats have exploded in popularity. People are desperate for silence, even if they don't always know how to sustain it. Digital detox retreats may lock away phones for a weekend, but the real challenge is returning home and practicing restraint daily. Stoicism offers the tools for this sustainability. It turns detox from a temporary reset into a lasting habit. It teaches us to measure success not by how much information we consume, but by how wisely we live. Imagine what this could mean for a culture drowning in distraction. Children growing up with the ability to focus deeply instead of flitting from app to app. Adults building relationships rooted in presence instead of fractured by constant interruptions. Workers finding satisfaction in meaningful effort instead of burnout from endless availability. Communities valuing simplicity, presence, and virtue over noise, busyness, and spectacle. This is not a utopia. It is simply the logical outcome of applying Stoic wisdom to digital life. By focusing on what we can control, our choices, our attention, our presence, we reclaim the peace that endless scrolling has stolen. One of the most powerful benefits of digital detox through a Stoic lens is rediscovering gratitude. When screens dominate, we lose touch with the small joys of life, the quiet morning light, the laughter of a friend, the stillness of a walk. We may capture them for social media, but capturing is not the same as experiencing. Stoicism teaches us to live in alignment with nature, to appreciate what is right in front of us, to find enough in what we already have. Digital detox clears the noise so that gratitude can return, and gratitude, once rediscovered, changes everything. It makes comparison unnecessary, it makes envy powerless, it makes life lighter, calmer, and more resilient. We should also remember that detox is not about perfection. There will be days when we fall back into old habits, when we scroll too long, when we let distraction win. The Stoics remind us that failure is not final. Each day is a new opportunity to live with wisdom. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that he would encounter distraction and temptation daily, but that he could always return to the path of virtue. In the same way, digital detox is not about never slipping. It is about always returning. Each time we set the phone aside, each time we choose silence over noise, we practice resilience. And resilience, practiced over time, becomes strength. The conclusion is clear. Digital detox is more than a wellness fad. It is a cultural necessity in America's age of constant connection. And Stoicism is more than an ancient philosophy. It is a living framework for reclaiming calm in the midst of noise. Together they offer a way forward, a way to live with technology without being consumed by it, a way to thrive without drowning in distraction. So where does this leave us? It leaves us with a choice. We can continue down the path of endless scrolling, endless notifications, endless comparison, and we know where that leads: burnout, anxiety, and emptiness. Or we can choose the path of Stoic acceptance, digital discipline, and intentional living. We can choose presence over distraction, peace over noise, freedom over compulsion. The choice is not easy, but it is simple, and it is yours to make. If you are watching this, it may be because you already feel the pull of distraction in your life. You may already know the exhaustion of being constantly connected, but never truly present. If so, let this be the moment you take the first step. Put the phone down for an hour. Step outside without earbuds. Sit in silence and breathe. Notice how strange it feels and how freeing it becomes. That is the beginning of detox. That is the beginning of freedom. And as you take that step, remember, you are not alone. There is a growing community of people across America and around the world who are rejecting hustle culture, rejecting endless noise, and choosing balance. By embracing Stoicism, you are joining a tradition of thinkers and seekers who have, for centuries, chosen wisdom over chaos. Their words are still with us, Their guidance is still relevant, and their philosophy can still change lives, yours included. This is why we created this series, to bring you not just ideas but tools, not just philosophy but practice, not just theories but guidance you can live by. Each video in this series is an invitation to step back from the noise and step into clarity. Each one is a reminder that calm is possible, even in a busy world. And each one is a call to reclaim what has always been yours: your mind, your focus, your freedom. So if this message has resonated with you, if you feel even a spark of recognition in what we've discussed, then I invite you to take the next step with us. Subscribe to our channel, Think Fresh Daily, where we explore the wisdom of Stoicism for modern struggles. Like this video to let us know you want more content like this. Share it with a friend or family member who is drowning in digital noise and needs a way out. Together we can build a community grounded not in endless scrolling, but in presence. Not in comparison, but in gratitude. Not in distraction, but in wisdom. You do not need to abandon technology to reclaim your life. You only need to reclaim yourself. That is the essence of Stoicism. That is the heart of digital detox. And that is the invitation we leave you with today. To choose calm, to choose presence, to choose freedom. The world may remain noisy, but within you, peace is waiting. All you have to do is accept it.